Okay, we're live, so I'm counting from 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. Are re-leading the AFC South, and they've really run over the competition. Of course, no pun intended there. Of course, with their basically on the legs of Derrick Henry, who suffered a injury that's put him out a little bit. But the Titans are really a behemoth in their division and in the AFC. And here to talk about the Tennessee Titans, of course, I am Earl Holland, here to talk football for our NFL playoff preview that'll be coming out the week of the start of the NFL playoffs. And here with me to talk about the Tennessee Titans is longtime Titans fan. You've seen him here a few times before talking about the Titans, touting him. It feels like he's been on for every year that we've done it. So, which means there's consistency in Tennessee. So that's a good thing. It's Jason Bruce. A lot of you guys have seen him on here before, and he's back again here to talk about the Titans. How are you doing, Jason?
Pretty good, man. How you doing?
I am doing great. I always tell people every day above ground is a good one. I know that's so cliche, but it is true because, that whole thing here today, gone tomorrow, because you never know.
100%, man.
Yeah, I didn't want to try to make it morbid there, but that's how it is. It's just like, hey, enjoy all the good stuff. And right now you have a lot to enjoy with the Titans sitting at 8-4 in the AFC South. Basically, I guess you could say a game and a half ahead of Indianapolis, who's sitting at 7-6, and then basically well ahead of everybody else after that.
Yes, but man, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we're hanging on by a thick thread. Can I say it that way? We're in good shape, but I don't want a whole lot else to go wrong.
Yeah, definitely. I can understand that. Let's get into, of course, the questions I normally ask everybody when it comes to their beloved team. How long have you been a fan of your team, and how did you become a Titans fan? What was the draw to them?
Grew up in Tennessee. Grew up, 80s, 90s, no team back home. And then when Bud Adams moved the Oilers, I'm keeping my eye on it, but from jump, we were told, they're going to be the Tennessee Oilers for a few years, and then when we get the stadium built in Nashville, we're going to rename the team. And I said, I'm going to bide my time until then. We got the new name in '99, and buy the gear, wear the gear, be there from that point on.
I know that they had mentioned, because I think going back to the history of it, the reason they picked the Titans because that where they're at is basically the Athens of the South, I believe.
Nashville is called the Athens of the South, yes.
Yeah, and that's why it went so naturally. And it looks like while they changed, they're a little bit of the old color scheme of the Oilers, except maybe a couple tints darker and blue, and here and there and everything.
Yeah, we went to the two-tone blue, which I adore personally. I love the fact that, the Grizzlies have gone with the two-tone blue. They're let you in a little something that's floating around town right now is that the talk is that there's a hard push for Nashville to get a baseball team. And the early front runner for that is to move Tampa Bay.
That would make a lot of people interested because everybody's talking about, oh, John Angelos has a house in Nashville. Don't be surprised the Orioles move. That's the other thing.
I don't know how I would feel about that. Honestly, I've said from jump, and moving out here to the shore. I live in Salisbury. I said from jump, Nashville doesn't have a baseball team. I grew up an A's fan, but being around here, I picked up the Nationals. And from like 2007, way back, and stuck with the Nationals, got to experience the series in 2019, and have had a long, deep-seated hatred of the Orioles. Sorry. But I don't see the Orioles going anywhere, honestly. I see them, they're going to do whatever they have to do to keep that team. It's such a part of Baltimore's identity. And let's just hope for the best that the Tampa moves to Nashville and not the Orioles, so I can be happy, and so can Baltimore.
Going back to your history of being a Titans fan, what is the most memorable moment? Is it the Music City Miracle? Is it that first Super Bowl? Where is it rank?
Those are definitely top 3 to 5. I will say in the last, literally the 19 season, the Derrick Henry jump pass to beat the Ravens is right up there with all the rest of the moments. Derrick has cemented himself in Titans lore, along with Eddie George. And I don't have an Earl Campbell jersey, but Earl Campbell as such a force and a what am I trying to say? A pillar of the franchise that he's creating his own moments as we go. And I will say easily that, the Music City Miracle for what it did. And as much as I hate to say it, coming up 1 yard short, probably one of the top 3 Super Bowl finishes of all time. As much as that hurt to be on the wrong end of that, that was this iconic moment for the NFL that happened to be the Titans. And then since then, Derrick's been the high point.
Yep, definitely can understand that. Going into the season, what were the expectations? I know after the playoff loss last year, there was, they were thinking, what more can you need to do to advance to eventually the AFC Championship game and possibly another Super Bowl?
Oh, they went out and did things toward that. As much as it's been maligned throughout the year here, I think picking up Julio Jones, it made a difference. It allows you get people off of A.J. Brown. Now you got to worry about if we'll get into this later, but if everybody's healthy, you've got Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Ferkser, Julio Jones. Who do you double? So to go out and get Julio was nice. We made good strides on defense, I thought. We did what we needed to do in the offseason to improve the whole squad. Morale was very, very good and very, very high at the beginning of the year. And it's stayed that way for the most part until this about last month to 3 weeks of just snake bitten with injuries.
Looking at how far the season has gone, was there a particular game where you thought not only are the Titans playoff bound, but these guys are going to be a force to reckon with in the AFC playoffs. Was it the win against the Bills? Was it the drubbing of the Chiefs? Was it any of those games, or was it something else?
I would say that 2-week stretch, definitely that 2-week stretch coming to drop the Bills and keep them in check for the most part, and then turn around. The question about this team is the defense. And for a defense that has question marks to hold the Chiefs to 3 points, you think you're as good as you can get at that point. So at that point, I think we're around 8-2, sitting at the 1 seed. And, I'm talking to buddies of mine left and right, and everybody says, it's not a 10-game regular season. So you got to go on, you got to keep playing, and then the injury bug kind of bit us, and we're sitting where we're at right now.
That being said, while there wasn't any concern about making the playoffs, especially now on the 17th field and a not as competitive AFC South, but were there a couple of games or a game or so that gave you a pause? Was it the game against the Patriots? Was it the Jets' loss? Or was it even the earlier loss that you had to the loss you had to the Texans?
All 3 terrible losses, all 3 basically inexcusable. But when the news came down about Derrick's foot, I think I speak for every Titans fan around when I say stop, take a drink, and mourn, hope for the best. Losing Derrick has been the absolute low point of the year because, for better or worse, everybody knows that's the offense. That's what it rolls through. The offense goes as 22 goes. If they want to put 9 in the box and stop him, Tannehill's got the talent to throw over top of it. But when there's no Derrick to worry about stopping, they can play nickel or dime the entire time. And now the receivers are all covered, and Tannehill's good, but he's not that good. And now we're in trouble. So we all knew that. Nobody in the Titan fandom was unrealistic about that. We all knew losing Derrick was catastrophic.
Looking at the AFC playoff matchup, who do you feel the Titans match up the best with in the AFC?
I love the way our schedule has rolled out so far. We've played and beaten Buffalo. We've played and beaten Kansas City. We played New England in a thunderstorm with half our, 17 people on IR. I feel if we can get where we need to be health-wise, and the big one is obviously to get Derrick back. And when Derrick went down, the big comparison I saw and read about was the comparison that when Ray Lewis went down in 12. If you remember, Ray Lewis went out in like week 5 or 6 with what was thought of as a really catastrophic elbow injury. And he wound up coming back for the playoffs. They obviously went all the way. Derrick's initial was 6 to 10 weeks. And they said, 8 was optimistic. The people that said that have not seen Derrick work out. If you've seen the YouTube videos and the TikToks, Derrick is an animal. He is, if you tell him that if you work out, you will get better, he's going to do that like nobody else will. So I really think we get Derrick back before the last week or so of the season, and then we have him for the playoffs. And at that point, it's a different animal.
looking on the other side, which team in the AFC as a Titans fan scares you?
Right now, still probably New England. The way that it pains me to say it, but Belichick is an absolute genius. How do you do this with a rookie quarterback, a patchwork offense, name 3 players on their offense, and, the same way on the defense? He coaches football as a team better than anybody I've ever seen. He has no stars. So how do you attack a team like that? So if I gotta pick one to be scared of, it's New England.
And before we go into our prediction for the Super Bowl, I always have to ask, what is it that you've seen the Titans do differently this year compared to the previous 2 years when they were making their runs in the playoffs?
This year, I've seen a little bit better defense. There's still times where there's inexcusable failures in the secondary. People get just burnt like toast. That can always be better, until you get the 2000 Ravens defense. You can always have a better defense. I saw there's been a lot of play action, which I like. When you got somebody like Derrick, it's, a no-brainer to play action to him on second and short and then look for A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Ferkser. You've got options. When we've got everybody together, we've got options that we like. We haven't had that probably not since McNair with Kevin Dyson and the Kevin Dyson and
Derrick Mason
crew. There you go. Thank you. With those kind of options at receiver and Frank Wycheck at tight end.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty sharp. And the one thing is this, we have to ask this because we saw it with Chris Johnson. How long do you think the shelf life of Derrick Henry will be? Because, of course, the wear and tear, even though he's a big, powerful back, but you always wonder when does Father Time come calling?
The human body can only take so much, no matter how big you are. I don't see him going another 5 years, honestly. I see maybe 3. You can't with anybody that takes that kind of a punishment, be it running backs, tight ends, professional wrestlers. You can only take so many bumps, and when you've got 300-pound guys slamming into you 3 at a time, 30 times a game, that adds up. You can only go so far. I say low end 3, high end 5.
It'll be interesting to see, and hopefully he's able to reach the peak of success in that window.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he still may play afterwards, but as we've seen, sure, you can be Adrian Peterson at 36 playing, but how effective are you at 36?
Exactly.
As we start to wrap this up, the first thing I want to ask you, your Super Bowl prediction: who comes out of the AFC, who comes out of the NFC, who wins the Super Bowl, and what is the final score?
I haven't done it in the last 3 years I've been talking to you. I'm going to do it this year, man. I think if we get Derrick back in, week 17, week 18, if we get Derrick back for the playoffs, I worry about the Pats and the Pats alone. I think it's us coming out of the AFC. Out of the NFC, I think probably Green Bay, Tampa Bay. I would love for it to. I'd love for it to be Brady. I'd love to knock Brady off again, like we did in 19. But I think if it comes down to that, I'm going to say Titans and Green Bay in the Super Bowl, and I think we pull it out, brother. Tighten up. I'm going to say 24-21. Nice close game.
Everybody's getting there. Everybody has their thoughts. It's going to come down to a field goal, whoever is in the Super Bowl.
Yep. This has been a super year of parody for everybody. I saw a graphic today that was you can take any team in the league and literally follow them all the way around. All 30 teams, 31 teams. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm sorry. One of these. Every team has beaten every other team. There's a massive transitive property from every team in the NFL.
Oh, it's crazy. And I mean, and there's still, it's weird saying that, it's still 5, 6, 7 weeks ago, because I don't remember the math anymore. I know it's 18, but I don't even remember what week it is anymore.
Right? I think we are in week 14 right now.
I have to ask you one more question before we go to the shout outs and wrapping things up. Your thoughts on the 7th playoff spot in each conference and the extra week. Do you feel like it makes things a little more competitive? Do you think it may lead to more injuries? What are your thoughts?
It is what it is. I think they're only doing this 17th week for 2 or 3 years. You watch, we're going to 18. The owners want the extra game for the money, for the revenue. I would be okay with it but you've got such a paradox in it. You need to cut the preseason if you're going to extend the regular season. And if you do that, you wind up, remember how many injuries we had in the first 5-6 weeks with people not being ready, having not played any kind of a preseason. I'm okay with the 7th playoff spot. I'm okay with only the 1 seed getting the bye. It, does what it does. You still got to win the games. I come from a wrestling background, and it doesn't matter what you're seeded. If you want to win the entire thing, you're going to have to beat the best teams in the bracket. Like right now with college football. I got a buddy that's a Michigan booster. He's going to Miami to see the game against Georgia. And they're talking, how are you guys gonna win it? Well, you're gonna have to beat the top 2 teams in the SEC. And he goes, yeah, I know. That's the way it's gonna break down. Sorry. But as far as trying to win a championship, you're always going to have to beat the best teams available. That's just the way it is. Like Ric Flair said, to be the man, finish it, Earl.
You got to beat the man.
Attaboy.
Among his many things, some of them probably not family friendly.
Probably not.
Well, Jason, as we wrap this up, what are ways people can reach out to you on social media? Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody as well? And anything else that you want to promote?
Shout out to the reason you and I pushed this back a few minutes, about 30, 45 minutes. I was hanging out at Gateway Brewing Company in Salisbury, good friends of mine, and they were prepared to let me do this there. I was able to push it back. Good people there. Good people. Go check them out. Shout out to my wife for putting up with this. She's hanging out in the other room right now. And nothing else to say, but, go Preds and tighten up.
for everybody who's been watching, really appreciate it. And I want to thank Jason Bruce for taking time out of his busy schedule to do that. We're going to end up having some more, none on Friday, none over the weekend. We're going to have some on Monday where we're going to talk Cleveland Browns. We're going to talk LA Chargers. We're going to talk whoever else who might be under the sun. Who knows? There might be some surprise teams going up. And we're still looking for teams, looking for Cardinals fans. We're still looking for Vikings fans. We're looking for fans of some of the other teams that might be a little tougher to find. But yeah, anybody who's hanging out, who's an Arizona Cardinals fan, or who may have signed with them at one point, Shane Leatherberry, if you hear me. But if you can do that, just reach out to me and reach out to anybody. We're always looking for people to talk fans. But for everybody who's been watching, I really appreciate you guys tuning in earlier for the Dolphins and tonight for the Titans. I am Earl Holland, and for my guest, Jason Bruce, which we'll talk a little bit off air after this. Thank you guys for listening, and you guys have a great night, and we'll see you on Monday.
Thanks, guys. See ya.